Pretty excited this morning because one of the things that we want to do here in the city of Houston is make Houston one of the safest big cities in the country. And you know, when you're a police department that is as leanly staffed as we are and under-resourced, understaffed, we have to be efficient. Most importantly, we have to do everything we can to keep the people of the city safe. One of the things that I've noticed since I've been here for almost a year now is that we engage in pursuits almost on a daily basis in our city. We have over 20,000 gang members and a lot of violent criminals in this city that when we turn on their lights and they know they're wanted for a felony, too often they don't just pull over. Too often they run. And while some people in society would say that law enforcement should never, ever, ever pursue, I beg to differ. I think that if you look at cities where they have a no pursuit policy, they have a violent crime problem that is pretty egregious. And I think from my perspective, a blanket policy to not pursue is an invitation to chaos, and we don't want chaos in our city. Since January 1st, 2012 to October 31st, 2017, the Houston Police Department engaged in approximately 4,831 pursuits. The vast majority of these pursuits ended without injuries to citizens, the officer, or the suspects. But 30% of the pursuits still ended in crashes involving innocent people at times, and in suspects wrapping around poles, things of that nature. And that's why we are going to start training our officers immediately on what we call the pursuit. I call it pursuit intervention technique. I think these guys want to call it the immobilization technique. It is a technique that has been utilized for many years around the country to gently tap a suspect vehicle as it is fleeing. Obviously, we will do it at a very strategic time, at specific speeds. We will have policy that will not allow us to, we're not going to do it at 70 miles an hour, obviously, because that creates another set of problems. But the bottom line, we believe that this pit maneuver will actually enhance the safety of our residents, the safety of our officers, and the safety of the suspects that we're chasing. 6.8% of the pursuits I just mentioned ended with injuries. 32 officers, 1,000 suspects, and 6,000 citizens had injuries sustained in the last 5 years as a result of the pursuit. Fortunately, most of them are minor, but unfortunately, we've had an average of 5 fatalities a year, and that simply is not acceptable to us. We have a pursuit policy that requires our officers and the supervisors to assess roadway conditions, to assess traffic, to assess risk versus gain, to assess what the suspect vehicles wanted for, the suspects wanted for, and in many cases, for every pursuit we engage, in many cases, we voluntarily terminate the pursuits. As a matter of fact, I've actually witnessed the chief here actually order officers to disengage in a pursuit. When possible, you use our airship to actually go over and be above so our people can back off. And we're also using the Star Chase pursuit system that actually shoots the dart into the back of a vehicle, and then we can track that pursuit. It's important for the community to know that, again, the only person 99 times out of 100, anywhere in this country, when someone dies because during a vehicle pursuit, the only person responsible, the very vast majority of the times, is the suspect themselves. When they flee in a reckless manner, without regard to the safety of the officers that are pursuing them or the public around them, and somebody dies, there's only one person responsible for that, and that's that suspect. And that's what I've always said, that people that flee, that are on notice, that know how dangerous it is, and end up killing somebody should be charged with murder. I'm very proud of the fact that in Travis County, 2 of the pursuits that we were engaged in, when the suspect was wanted for aggravated carjacking, the suspect, on one occasion, the suspect went intentionally onto a sidewalk, ran over somebody in a wheelchair, killed them. And I think you were there, if you remember that. And the media tried to play my cop, and I'm sorry. But when somebody is hijacking, carjacking, committing violent crimes, and we let them go, we know that we're letting a very dangerous felon go. And the only person responsible was that suspect that did that, and we actually direct filed murder charges against him. I'm proud of the fact that we were able to successfully prosecute him. If you remember the South by Southwest incident years ago in Austin, where a suspect ran from an officer, actually ran for just about 3 blocks, ended up killing several innocent bystanders. I remember that press conference, getting on the penal code that morning in the middle of the night when I showed up at that scene looking up the definition of a capital murder. And I said that morning when the media was trying to blame our officer that the only one responsible for intentionally entering a closed street filled with pedestrians during South by Southwest was that suspect. And we charged that suspect with capital murder. And I'm glad to say that a jury, once they saw all the evidence, held him accountable and gave him, I believe, life, is my recollection, in prison, because they convicted him of capital murder. So we're doing our part, but the other part that we need is for the juries, for judges, and for prosecutors to hold suspects accountable. When you run from the police, there have to be consequences, because criminals are just like any other business enterprise. They do a risk versus benefit analysis, and they're going to do time for whatever the crime they're wanted for. If they just simply stop and there are no consequences for running from us, guess what they're going to do? Take their chances and run. But if they know if they run and they kill somebody and they engage in the pursuit, they're going to be charged with capital murder, or they're going to go to prison for life, guess what they're going to start doing? Especially in this county, where so far it appears to me that too many violent criminals are going in one door, getting a slap on the wrist, and they're back out committing felonies. So I'm not going to continue going in here, but I just want to tell you all, and I want to tell this community, that your lives matter, the lives of our officers matter, and it's really important to us, the safety of this community, and that's why we're starting the pit. And remember, the pit is a very gentle maneuver. When you see it displayed here, as a matter of fact, in most vehicles, once they spin out, the gas valve in there actually chokes off the car. The engine goes out if it works the way it's supposed to work with that specific vehicle, and we're able to safely bring the pursuit to a conclusion. So I'm excited. I think that as a result of this training, the excellence of this academy staff that has been preparing for this, and who built these bumpers for us? HPD. And I want to thank Chief Pena and the Houston Fire Department and their folks that actually put together the bumpers. We paid for them, those, don't get too excited. We paid them, but they actually did the work, and looking at the bumpers, it looks like they did a very good job. So I think as soon as we have these units out there with officers deployed, trained, we're going to see some great results. And so to the crooks out there that like to run from the police, especially if you're in your own wheels, I got news for you. We now just added another tool to bring you to justice. So do yourself a favor, pull over, surrender, face the consequences, because I guarantee you, if you kill somebody, innocent person driving recklessly in a pursuit, we're going to push really, really hard to charge you with murder, period. Any questions?
Can you give those numbers again, please?
I will give them to you afterwards. You got the numbers?
How long is the training for these officers to go through this? Learn how to
go ahead. Why don't you guys come and talk about the training real quick? Introduce yourself.
My name's Andy Spangle. I'm the sergeant over the driver training unit out here at the academy, and each class for the officers will be 10 hours in length. And the bottom line is, when we train the officers, they have to be proficient in this technique, or we're just not going to certify them to do it.
Can you explain just how it works? What is the safety of this maneuver if done right, and what is it supposed to accomplish?
Sure. I'm not going to give you a specific speed that we're going to train our officers on. Just like the chief indicated, we're not going to use it at high speed. What we're trying to do is gently push the rear of the vehicle and then disrupt the traction of the suspect vehicle to get them to lose control and push them off to the side of the road. And then we have some techniques where we'll place the suspect in custody after that.
So there's no, can you give a maximum speed, or?
No, I really don't want to, yeah,
tactical.
we're going into tactics here, and I really don't want to disclose that.
Is this kind of practice something that's usual for a police department? Is it done throughout the nation? Why now?
Yes, there are departments throughout the nation that do this technique. Basically, the chief wants it. The chief wants it, he gets it.
Thank you very much. This is Santa Claus, everybody. Thank you, Santa.
But you said not 75 miles per hour. I think the chief said that that's too high. So is that, I mean, that's going to be, what is too
Well,
fast?
the bottom line is we don't want to push a car off the road that ends up being a missile, in essence. You hit a certain speed, and the higher that you go, the chances that the car loses weight control that we cannot control increases exponentially. So we want to keep it at a speed that we're comfortable with, that we know if we're going to pit the car out, it's going to land roughly in this area, and then we have control over the situation, not the suspect. And we don't want to push it off into situations where innocent civilians could be possibly endangered by it also.
Is the plan to train all the officers?
No.
Okay.
No.
How can you guarantee that someone trained is going to be involved in a chase?
We think we're going to have plenty of people. The program we have set up right now, we're going to have supervisors recommend officers that they want to come out and participate in the program. And we have criteria, officers that are actually good drivers, that would be good, are known to have good decision-making abilities and have some maturity on the department. In essence, I probably will not take a rookie that just graduated from the academy 6 months ago. We need them to get some experience.
So would you say, 50 officers, or that number is sort of?
Numbers. Okay.
I can't give you a number. We're going to leave it up to each captain to determine what they need for coverage for each shift at their station.
And just so you know, that number is a growing number, right? It is. We're going to start with a certain number for each division, and then over the years, what will happen is more and more employees, more and more officers will end up being trained. Eventually, a significant part of the organization will be certified in the pit maneuver. But the bottom line is we're doing this because the safety of our officers matters to us. The safety of our community really matters to us, especially the innocent people out there. I mean, we have a sworn duty to engage in chasing bad guys. And then the safety of the suspects matter as well. But it's coming. It's coming to a pursuit near us here, and I'm excited because I really believe that ultimately we're going to save lives. We owe the public and the victims of these suspects that have no regard for the safety of others. We owe it as a police department to them and to our own families to provide our officers with every tool available to them to try to end this pursuit in a manner where everyone gets to either go home or to jail, whatever applies to them. Any other questions?
Where are you going to allow officers to do it? Is this on a highway or on a residential street?
It's going to be allowed anywhere based on the totality of the circumstances and the conditions. We are a thinking department. Police officers are required to make instantaneous decisions, process information, and one of the things that Sarge talked about is that we're not just going to get a rookie off the street. People are going to have to have a history in the department of making good decisions. But eventually, like I said, as officers start getting more tenure, more and more officers end up getting trained, and I would venture to guess within 5 years you're going to see a huge number of, a big segment of the department will be trained. I was trained in this technique with the California Highway Patrol many years ago, and I can't tell you how many pursuits have been successfully terminated, to the extent that back in the day when the LAPD really didn't pursue, and the LA County Sheriffs really didn't pursue when I was a sergeant in East LA and a patrol officer, many times when the CHP, the California Patrol, would take over the pursuit, suspects would suddenly all of a sudden just pull over and surrender. And we'd ask them, why did you stop so fast? And they said, well, we know that the LAPD will not continue to pursue us. We knew that the LA County Sheriffs will not continue to pursue us. But we know that you're going to continue to pursue us, and that when you have the appropriate moment, you're going to pit us. And we don't want our car damaged because you're afraid of their car getting damaged. And the other piece is we know we're not going to get away. So it works. It is a tool that's going to work, and ultimately I think it'll save lives. Anything else?
During the chase, how fast do you decide to do that? Is it going to be right away? Is it after? I mean, some chases last quick, some are not.
Okay, I want to sit here because it all depends on a lot of factors. No two chases are exactly the same. It's going to depend on what the suspect is wanted for. If somebody's shooting out the window, I probably don't want my officer to go up there and try to pit them, because there's a good chance they may get shot. So there are a lot of things that go into making this decision. I had a member of my junior class that got shot trying to pit somebody. So there are a lot of tactical decisions. We're not going to talk about tactics. Suffice it to say that in most instances, when we have the opportunity, we will pit people. And it could be on a freeway, it could be on a street, it could be in a dirt lot, it could be just about anywhere. Okay?
Why now? What motivated you now to start this training at this point in time?
Well, we've been working on this. I talked about it the day I walked in the door to our officers. I told them it was coming. But remember, we're an organization that we're reinventing ourselves in a lot of ways. We're bringing a lot of new programs in here in a lot of ways. I know it's a program that works. Austin did not have the pit before I got there. And it took me several years to get it done, but we got it done. I'm happy that we're getting this done within the first year of my privilege of leading this department and serve this community. So it is something that I know is going to save lives, reduce injuries, and ultimately make Houstonians safer. And at some point, if other agencies want training, I know our men and women here would be more than happy to help train them in the area as well.
It's another tool.
It's another tool in the toolkit, and Houstonians should be proud that their police department is doing everything they can to keep them safe. We're doing our part, but we want prosecutors, we want juries, and we want judges to do their part. It is no surprise to anybody. It is not a secret. Pursuits are deadly. Pursuits are dangerous. And when people run from us in a vehicle, trying to evade arrest in a reckless manner, they are acting with willful disregard for the safety of our citizens, of our residents. They're acting with a wanton and willful disregard. And we've got to hold those people accountable. Trust me, I know that criminals make decisions based on the consequences they face. I know that because we have audio tapes in my old department where Travis County was a little bit more lenient on crime than Williamson County, which was probably a little bit too much this way, and Travis a little bit too much this way, and I like a little moderation. And we have audio of criminals making decisions on where they were going to commit a crime based on the consequences they face. And an example is when you were trying to put together a big dope deal and somebody was on a wire and our cops are trying to get them. If there was an intersection where this side, that gas station on that side of the intersection was Williamson County and this side of the intersection was Travis County, we have tapes of crooks saying, oh, no, 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 we don't want to do that. We don't want to do it on that side of the street. That's Williamson County. We want Harris County, as it relates to violent criminals, to be the county where violent criminals don't want to be caught and don't want to commit violent crime. And right now, I don't think that's happening in our county. So that's why we're starting to speak out on these issues. Anything else so we can...
Yeah, I was just going to say for other drivers...
You want to be in it? We need a volunteer. Who wants to be in it?
I'll do it.
Who did? You did it already?
Yeah, I did it already.
Who else wants to volunteer? All right, can they volunteer?
When do you see
Sinjin.
the first officer?
You want to do it?
Fine.
We're going to do it on a motorcycle for you there, buddy. Sinjin's a friend, so I can tease him a little
I was
bit.
gonna
No
ask-
motorcycles, by the way. We will not pit motorcycles, and we won't pit buses. So.
What would you say to other drivers that see a chase happening, because it can be very...
If you're in your lane in the freeway, stay in your lane. Don't try to move one way or the other, because the officers know how to avoid you, and we don't want you to end up in a crash. Just stay right in your lane. Hopefully the suspect go around you, not ram you, but that'd be an intentional act on their part. Anything else?
Yeah, how about the fact you said there were, what, 4,000 chases and you've already got a pretty small fleet of vehicles? You're already...
If it's done right, it doesn't. Let me just say this. I know that we're a cash-starved city thanks to this thing that we call the revenue cap. You know, people like to think we're a poor city. We're not a poor city. This is a very affluent city. This is an artificially cash-strapped city because of this revenue cap. I'm so grateful that we have a mayor and a council that just and a citizenry that just helped us fix pensions. And now I'm hopeful that next year somehow we'll get this revenue cap fixed. You can't be the fastest growing big city in the country and have a fleet where 75% of the police fleet needs to be retired because it's beyond the miles, or it's because it's beyond the years it's supposed to be in service. You can't have a city that's the fastest growing big city of 1 million or more people in this country and have a police department that is understaffed. No operational overtime. We've got to get help. So, but my point being is that we're going to put more value on lives. We're going to put more value on safety, and when the pit's done correctly, it should result in 0 to very, very superficial damage. Would you agree?
That's correct.
So, because it's not a ram, it's a pit. And when an officer starts doing it inappropriately because they're not doing it right, they'll find themselves retraining, and they do it again, they'll find themselves deauthorized and de-certified. Would you agree?
Yes, sir.
I like my sergeant. All the right answers back there.
When do you see the first officers on the street trained?
Next month, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is our Christmas present to the city of Houston. We're enhancing safety, and to the criminals, this is Scrooge. We don't like you, we're not happy with you, and we're coming after you. So, all right, guys, let's get it going. Who's going to go?